What is M.G.T.O.W? M.G.T.O.W, or Men Going Their Own Way, is an online movement of men choosing to abstain from dating and relationships due to, quote, modern women being unwilling or unable to provide them with the qualities they want, i.e. being conventionally attractive, demure, politically conservative, and aspiring to be a 1950s housewife minus the expectation that their man actually provide that lifestyle. So we're talking no casual dating, no relationships, no sex unless it's with a sex worker, the whole nine. So on paper, this is actually sort of badass, right? Like, it theoretically is supposed to just embody the masculine ideal. Like, if women aren't interested in giving these guys what they want, they're not going to complain, they're not going to whine about it, they're just going to walk away rather than compromise their own needs. It's basically the dating equivalent to, you can't fire me because I quit. In practice, though, it ends up mostly just being guys complaining on the internet about how much they hate modern women. Because, lo and fucking behold, it's not actually possible to just switch off your basic human need for sex, affection, and partnership. So I want to quickly bang out how M.G.T.O.Ws diagnose the problems that they see in the dating market. So according to them, modern women lack the qualities of traditional femininity that have always been the bread and butter of romantic relationships. They're over 30, they have tattoos, they believe in feminism, they've had many penises inside them, they spend too much time on social media, they have OnlyFans, and a lot of times they're single mothers. Nevertheless, their expectations for you, the man, are still sky high. They expect you to be buff, attractive, independently wealthy, drive an expensive luxury car, and have 6+ inches in your pants. Most of the time, these women aren't interested in you for the beautiful, complex person you are, but rather in the lifestyle that you can provide them, which would be completely understandable. But busting your ass your whole life to be a strong, masculine man who can provide for a family when this is what you get in return? Fuck it. It makes way more sense to just sit around playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze Remastered all day and leave the women scratching their heads to try to figure out why there are no more men out there willing to date them. Then when these women are old and alone and it's too late for them to find happiness with a man, they'll have no choice but to spend the rest of their lives reflecting on how they pushed all the truly good, kind-hearted men away by, being feminist and thinking body art looks good. Now, credit where credit's due, M.G.T.O.Ws also like to talk about men being treated unfairly in family court, and I want to put a pin in that because that's a subject I don't disagree is worth talking about. But I also think it's okay to gloss this over, at least for now, because as time goes on, this is the part of the M.G.T.O.W platform that seems to fall by the wayside. No, everything wrong with, quote, modern women is what these guys are interested in talking about, so let's give them what they want. So I want to highlight a specific YouTube guy who, to me, epitomizes everything about the M.G.T.O.W movement by the name of Shannon Lewis. His videos hit on pretty much all the big M.G.T.O.W grievances. He talks about stuff like his own nightmare dating stories.
She was a good 60 pounds heavier than her pictures. It was obvious she was using old pictures, and I was thinking in my head, like, son of a... Ugh.
Bad dating app profiles.
They still dye their hair purple and use those ridiculous Snapchat filters.
Women he knows personally and the terrible life choices they've made.
So one day, she meets this dude, like, literally at a crosswalk, and somehow, he gets her number just like that.
Men getting married and immediately becoming pussy whipped.
Marriage life is like a 90s episode of Married with Children. It's basically slavery and bowing down to the queen every day.
Women over 30 thinking they're still hot.
This chick was 37 years old, and she shows up to her date with, like, really baggy eyes. I don't know how to explain it.
Come on, guys! Somebody look at me, I'm still sexy!
Men getting screwed over in divorce.
Yep. The same guy who paid for her nursing school. She was now divorcing him.
And a subject that he comes back to constantly, single mothers.
Single moms. Single mom's a single mother. A single mother is single mother. Single mother.
Basically, single mothers are to Shannon Lewis as cheating is to strong, successful male. Now, I don't know if this guy actually considers himself M.G.T.O.W because, at least according to the videos he makes, he does seem to do quite a bit of dating, but boy oh boy, he sure does encourage his audience to do it quite a bit.
Go M.G.T.O.W!
Go M.G.T.O.W!
Go M.G.T.O.W!
Go M.G.T.O.W! You went M.G.T.O.W.?
Go M.G.T.O.W!
Go M.G.T.O.W! If I haven't told you this before, go M.G.T.O.W!
His videos are short, digestible pieces of content delivered in a detached, conversational tone with cute illustrations and a silly pitch-shifted voice.
So she's at college all day, and he's at home just doing jack. He won't even clean or cook.
The whole vibe is very hanging out with your buddy and joking about silly shit that doesn't matter all that much. And the whole thing has a sense of like elder millennial above it all irony. This content is very comfortable and very entertaining, and it's not difficult to have an hour or two disappear into it. But the thing this guy does exactly right from a propaganda perspective is that unlike a lot of red pill content, he doesn't make women seem dangerous or powerful. He makes them seem ridiculous. He basically invites the listener to exercise their hatred of women, not through fear or anger, which make you feel weak and powerless, but through snark and ridicule, which make you feel cool. And in doing so, he shows us exactly how fun and appealing M.G.T.O.W argumentation can be. Unfortunately for him, though, he lets his guard down just enough to illustrate exactly what's wrong with M.G.T.O.W.
I woke up one morning, and she was gone. She dumped me for some dude that she worked with who was a better catch than me.
So, what is wrong with M.G.T.O.W? Well, number one, you can't just turn off your need for sex, romance, and companionship no matter how angry and upset you are. So they say that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And if M.G.T.O.Ws were able to do a better job at feigning indifference towards women, the argument at the core of their movement would appear to have legs. But these guys are obviously not indifferent to women in dating. It would be absurd for a guy like Shannon Rice-Lewis to claim that he's, quote, walked away from women because he's spent a minimum of 7 years obsessively vlogging about them. Oh yeah, bro, women clearly don't take up any of your mental real estate whatsoever. This isn't even you can't fire me because I quit. It's more like Cartman saying screw you guys, I'm going home, and then not going home.
Okay, that does it. Screw you guys, I'm going home. Well?
In fact, with every passing video or Reddit post or shared meme, all you're doing is revealing to everyone with an eye shot how desperate you are for female affection, and you're not fooling anyone with the claim that you've, quote, walked away from women.
A solid visual 10 with the sweetest, nicest personality you could ever think, and she was gone.
Let me be abundantly clear. Guys end up in M.G.T.O.W because women have walked away from them, not the other way around. Individually, on a personal level, or by women as a whole moving past being willing to tolerate shitty values and behavior in their partners.
No, you're wrong. I have walked away from women. I just want to warn other men who haven't yet realized the truth about modern dating by sharing my experiences.
Ah yes, the counter-argument exemplified in this M.G.T.O.W meme right here. So Meg Griffin asks, if you've gone your own way, why do you talk about women so much? And the cool guy responds, a cancer researcher has to talk about tumors if he ever wants to find a cure. Okay. The thing is though, cancer researchers do not claim to have, quote, walked away from cancer. In fact, if you asked a cancer researcher what their relationship with cancer was, they'd probably say something to the effect of, fighting cancer is my greatest passion and my life's work. I've literally dedicated my entire life to the eradication of cancer. So, based on this analogy, are you suggesting that M.G.T.O.Ws have devoted their lives to eradicating the scourge of women? Cause boy, that sure is a different claim than, quote, we've walked away from women. And if you're admitting outright that you've devoted your life to fighting against the very people that you're angry at because of wanting to fuck, date, and marry, well, that sure doesn't make you seem like a calm, masculine guy who draws conclusions based on facts and logic. To show you what I mean, let's take a look at Shannon Rice-Lewis talking about a breakup he experienced that informs his worldview.
This chick could have been my dream girl, if only she was just about 50 pounds lighter. I got her in her face all the time. I said, you either exercise with me and lose some weight, or we break up right here, right now. I regulated everything pretty much. I wouldn't let her do any of the grocery shopping, and I forced her to treadmill 4 times a week. Then after that, I woke up one morning, and she was gone. She dumped me for some dude that she worked with, who was a better catch than me. I guess I was a 5, and the new dude she went out with was an 8 or something like that. I guess that's kind of female nature right there.
So let's recap. He fails to connect his being dumped with the controlling, abusive behavior he outlines just 20 seconds earlier in the video.
I said, you either exercise with me and lose some weight, or we break up right here, right now. Then after that, I woke up one morning, and she was gone.
Blames female nature when his ex-girlfriend finds someone more attractive who treats her better.
I guess I was a 5, and the new dude she went out with was an 8 or something like that. I guess that's kind of female nature right there.
And then claims to have voluntarily rejected all women in response.
If I haven't told you this before, go M.G.T.O.W!
Go M.G.T.O.W indeed, Shannon. Number 2, I personally have never experienced any of the problems that M.G.T.O.Ws like to talk about in my own dating life. Like, ever. Now, I understand that this is anecdotal and therefore not admissible as real evidence. But in my experience, contrary to the M.G.T.O.W narrative, women are interested in getting to know me as a person, totally upfront about what they're looking for, don't really care about what I offer them in terms of resources, and have perfectly reasonable standards with regard to what they expect versus what they have to offer. And ones who aren't reasonable and do just see me as a potential meal ticket are always clockable immediately, and it's really not hard to avoid wasting your time with them. Like, I don't know, man. I get that we're all entitled to our lived experiences, and your takeaways based on what you've been through in dating are no less valid than mine. But I really feel like if you see a dating profile where she says, I need a rich man to spoil me and my 3 kids, and like, you actually go for it just because she has a profile pic where she looks like Sydney Sweeney or whatever, that kind of seems like a you problem. Now, I fully admit that I'm probably a bad example. I'm bald, ugly, don't make much money, and my main interest is an extremely niche genre of music. I could absolutely never get a woman who these guys would consider, quote, high value, but even if I could, I wouldn't want to. The type of women I'm into are usually plus size, artistic, metal weirdos like me. But that's also sort of exactly my point. In this day and age, it's easier to curate your dating life to exactly the type of partners you want than at any point in human history.
You're telling me you're a 4'6" shrimp with a receding hairline who loves Mouse Quest? You're literally everything I've ever dreamed about.
The fact of the matter is, there are plenty of women out there who share your value system and your general sense of aesthetics. You just might have to make some compromises in terms of things like age, weight, appearance, sexual history, views on women's rights, and so on. In other words, you have to view these women as complicated, imperfect human beings rather than viewing them through the totally unrealistic lens of being either, quote, high value or, quote, not high value.
Well, okay, that's fine for you, but you yourself admit that you have no interest in conventionally attractive, high-value women. You have no incentive to care about the problems attaining something you have no desire for in the first place. I, however, do like those women. Don't I have the right to feel frustrated about it?
Well, I'm going to suggest that you do the same thing that you always suggest for women who you accuse of not having a realistic sense of what they can expect out of dating. You should probably adjust your standards. Because here's the thing. Number 3, yes, women have standards. So do you. What about it? What if it isn't true that modern women don't have the qualities that you're looking for in a partner? What if those women are out there, they just aren't available to you because you don't measure up to your astronomically high standards for traditional gender roles any more than women with green hair and gender studies degrees do?
I guess I was a 5, and the new dude she went out with was an 8 or something like that.
So MGTOWs complain that super hot women aren't willing to look past the pockmarks and $21K a year and the Funko Pop collection to see the deep, poetic, kind-hearted soul underneath. And on the surface, that sounds really shallow. But what would these same MGTOW guys do if they met a woman who was their exact ideal in every way imaginable, but she just happened to look like this? Or what if she was perfect in every way, but she was really wild her first 2 years of college and racked up a body count of like 350? But that was 10 years ago, and ever since then she's been the spitting image of immaculate traditional femininity. Would they go for it? Based on the type of rhetoric they both consume and put out into the world, they sure seem to not want you to think they would. See, men and women both have standards. This is not noteworthy in any way whatsoever. And while you're under no obligation to date someone you're not into, nor should you ever be expected to, women do not have that obligation either. So if you're going to be going after this, you sure as hell better be serving this. Or this. And if that's not attainable to you, then you shouldn't need someone like me to point out that you don't need a woman who embodies 1950s feminine perfection to be happy. That there are plenty of women out there who will date you and love you for who you are, as long as you love her for who she is, and don't focus on all the ways she falls short of an ideal that you yourself can't even measure up to. Because if you can't do that, if you claim that it's badass and alpha for you to have totally unattainable standards and to mock women who fall short of them, but that it's unfair and mean for women to do the exact same thing to you, it just kind of makes you look like a whiny bitch. I'm not trying to be offensive here. I'm just calling it like it is because at the end of the day, I respect you enough to think that you're able to hear it. Speaking of whiny little bitches, I want to look at this one Shannon Rice Lewis video that I find particularly interesting. It's about a single mother he dated who lied about having a boyfriend. Like most of his content, this video starts out funny and detached.
And then she says for date number 2, she's like, hey, can I just come over tonight? And I'm all thinking like, yeah, sounds good to me, you know, and in my head I'm all thinking, yeah, I might get laid, right?
But halfway through, he gets dead serious. See, what happened is the boyfriend came to his apartment at 3 in the morning, started screaming and pounding on the door, waking up the entire apartment complex in the process.
This fight is loud and nearly wakes up the whole apartment complex, and they all come outside to see what's going on.
And beat him up when he opened the door in a half-conscious delirium.
Then, the baby dad comes towards me, and he gives me a series of punches to the face, and he knocks me to the floor.
He had to go into work with bruises all over his face and ended up getting fired for it.
I eventually also ended up losing my high-paying job, you know, because I came into the office looking like Fight Club and shit.
Then he came home and found out he was being evicted due to noise complaints.
And by the time I got home from work, I got to my door, and boom, on my door, a 30-day eviction notice. I was so fucking pissed.
Then he lost his car because he couldn't keep up with the payments.
I ended up losing my sports car because I couldn't make the payments.
And suddenly, everything starts to fall into place. He experienced an extremely traumatic assault that he's going to be processing for years, if not the rest of his life. And his obsessive hatred of women, in particular single mothers, isn't some cool, collected decision he made based on facts and logic. It's a trauma response.
I just took this as a big lesson to never date a single mother again.
And knowing that, his holding negative feelings towards women is understandable. It's not necessarily right, but we don't get to choose how we process trauma. The thing is, though, at a certain point, we have to take account for the things we believe. Shannon Rice Lewis has every right to be enraged. Hell, he even has the right to be so mad that he becomes obsessed and makes it his entire personality for the better part of a decade. I just don't think that he is directing his anger at the right source. See, there are always going to be individual bad actors in dating regardless of gender, but the real villain here isn't women, it's capitalism.
You cannot be serious.
Okay, well then don't think of it in terms of capitalism. But let's do a little thought experiment. What happens in that same situation if there had been some basic protections in place? If America had the same paid sick leave and vacation time as most thriving European countries, Shannon Rice Lewis would have gone straight to the emergency room and not felt obligated to go into work 5 hours after being violently assaulted by a crazy person. If his job had proper unionization, there would have been basic protections against being fired for being a victim of stranger violence, something he had absolutely no control over or any way to prevent. If there had been rent stabilization or some sort of tenant's bill of rights, the landlord wouldn't have been able to evict him over one single offense that was not his fault. And if there was a robust social safety net like there was in the 70s and 80s, it is way less likely that he would have had his car repossessed simply because he was temporarily out of work. The fact is, assuming this story is true, Shannon Rice Lewis was not failed by women and he was not failed by single mothers. He was failed by a political system which, for the past 40 years, has been specifically designed to prioritize the interests of the boss who fired him, the landlord who evicted him, and the credit card company that repossessed his car over him. Get mad at that system, not at the single mothers just trying to find happiness on a dating app. Or at the very least, if you have to give in to obsessive, misdirected hatred, include men who let jealousy drive them into physically violent outbursts. I mean, that guy is at least as responsible for him losing everything he lost as the woman who lied about being single, isn't he? The fact is, it is not possible for men and women to live completely separately from one another. Dating is one of the most emotionally fraught activities that human beings engage in, and when it goes wrong, it can produce rage and depression that shows up nowhere else in life. But no matter what negative experiences you've had in your dating life, the gender you're attracted to are not your enemy, and you're not fooling anyone by claiming that they are, least of all yourself. Have enough self-awareness to look inward, recognize what the actual source of your unhappiness is, and find yourself a partner who cares about you and will help you work on your problems together.